Please take your seats. We're just about to start. I would like to invite our panelists up. Maria, let's start with you. If you could come take your seat. Maria Waseem, everyone. Joining us all the way from Paris, Mr. Ferranti. Mr. Tapu Javeri. And Mr. Raghu. Thank you. It is an immense honor and privilege, our gratitude to the Lahore Literature Festival for organizing this, our gratitude to our panelists for being able to make it, our gratitude to you for joining us in this session. It's a really, we hope for it to be a very special one. We'll start with a bit about myself. I will be your moderator today. My name is Umer Riaz. Like all of our panelists, I am a photographer myself and started photography in what is now a different era on 35 millimeter celluloid film. And we're going to start with this session being in 2023, which is in which I believe all of you are capable of being a photographer, many times are, and all of you have a phone in your pocket. But I seem to have aged at the current rate of our inflation. So I feel about 73 years old, and I feel a bit confident that I can moderate this session. A little bit of an introduction to our panelists. Maria Waseem, Pakistani photographer from Lahore. Maria was actually trained as an architect at NCA. She also started on celluloid film. Her mother was a photographer, and there was a printing machine in her house, which is how her love for photography developed. She has since been, for many years, traveling between India and Pakistan. Her specialization is not just architectural photography, but heritage sites, especially heritage sites. Mr. Ferranti, Italian parents, born in Algeria, grew up in Paris. And he took his first photograph at the age of 18 and since has been photographing for almost 40 years. He is very well known, primarily for his work with the writer Dominique. I've been checking all the way. We have such an international crowd today. I had to sit Ferrante down and just make sure of my pronunciations, and I think I've just given up. But they have published almost 50 books together regarding architectural photography, street photography, travel photography, and we are very, very grateful and honored to have you here. A man that many of our Pakistani audience members will know, Mr. Tapu Javeri, started off as a child photographer. His first camera, well, child prodigy, I would say, as well as photographer. His first camera was given to him at 9 years old, and by 15, he was being published in Dawn. And though it seems like he has access to the fountain of youth, his career has lasted 40 years in the field of the commercial world, the fashion world, the portraiture world, the street photography world. And have I missed anything? Fashion? Yeah? Okay. You know him. And we are very, very immensely honored to have Mr. Raghu with us from India. He is extremely difficult to introduce because he is, while I was doing my research, according to the Indian publications, called the father of Indian photography. I would call him the Satyajit Ray of photography. His career has spanned journalism, such as for a decade with the New Statesman, where he started out. He is the protege of one of the most legendary photographers of all time, whom he can now, after his body of work, stand with, Henri Cartier-Bresson. Uh, by the way, special thanks to the Embassy of Spain, who have not only double-checked my, oh, the Embassy of France. But you need the same visa to go to both, right? So it's fine. Special thanks to the Embassy of France, who not only are sponsoring this event, but also double-check my pronunciation. All of our esteemed panelists, we're going to take a deep dive into their lives, into their work, and we're going to show you some of their work as well. And thank you so, so much for being here. It's such an honor and a pleasure. Thank you. Can we get a little round of applause? Right. All right, so we're starting in 2023. The profession of photography, which once needed a lot of machinery, needed a lot of investment, a lot of time, has what they call now become democratized. As I said, a photograph can be taken by an instrument in almost anyone's pocket, usually across classes, across power systems, across races, ethnicities, countries, borders, etc. However, what we would like to start with is, since we have the privilege of 4 craftspeople here, is to first take a deep dive into their process as craftspeople, and to remember that this, regardless of the democratization, this is a beautiful medium of 200 years, which began as a craft, a specialized craft, and perhaps still is, and we're going to explore that. So my first question is a very general one, which is that, as our panel is titled Snatches of Life, I will give you a scenario. All of you have a rich body of work where, for the most part, was not done in the safe confines of a studio. You had to go out, you had to travel, you had to find places, you had to go with a camera amidst the chaos of life and find moments from it, snatches of life, so to speak. So let's take a process that for all of you happens in either seconds or milliseconds. That you were on the street, you were near the river, you were on the other side of the Taj Mahal, you were near a heritage site, you are in Afghanistan or Egypt, and your camera is in your hand. Guide us. I want you all to take this one scenario and just guide us through what is going through your heart and mind, which takes the camera up for you to look into the viewfinder, and then to press that button and let the shutter do its thing. Guide us through that process. Tapu, we'll start with you. What are you thinking? What are you feeling?
Okay. It depends on the environment you're in. A photograph is always dedicated, it's sort of decided by whatever's around you. So if I'm in a street environment and I find, I don't know how to, this is a question really you should have asked somewhere in the middle when we were sort of charged up here. But suppose you have an amazing environment which has perfect light, and 99% of the time you catch that light and you stand there and you wait for something to happen within it. And it usually does, if you're lucky. If you're not lucky, you move on. But to catch that sort of the spark which you're going to photograph, you have to wait for it to happen. So what's going on in your mind when you're taking the picture, you're just looking for the best light possible, and then hopefully find something happening with it. Chaos is always a photographer's best friend, at least for me, and I know Raghu Saab is the same. So we like energy in our photographs. So if you find a place where there's an insane amount of chaos, you're going to get an amazing photograph. And then you just have to, the rest is technique, you have to just work with technicals.
Ferrante?
I totally agree. I just want to tell again that finally we have always to think about the etymology of photography. It means writing with light, photos graphine, means from the moment where you are expecting the light, you can't write with that light, but someday there is no light. So you can feel you can miss something. So you will invent the light, and you will invent the light with the special energy. So I told quite the same words, but I would just want to tell to everybody that you have to believe that something can happen. I think it's not only, you spoke about energy, but it's not only the energy. The first energy is to go out, his own world, means the fact to be secure in your own life, but from the moment where you take the media, that means the camera, for going inside, and from that moment, you believe that sometimes it does never happen, but you have to be ready for that and having the anticipation for that. And as you told, chaos, but I think for me it's always, photos are so many times, and we will speak about the Rai photography, Raghu Rai photography. So many photos are gifts. We don't do the photo, we receive the photos. It is totally different for me.
Maria?
First, I would like to correct one thing. My mother did not have a printing machine. She had a photography studio in that.
Oh, okay.
Developing and printing. Acha. And secondly, I have traveled to many countries, and that's it. Acha. When I go to a heritage site, the heritage sites are mostly 100, 200, 300 years old, and they are standing there, and the surroundings around them, they are evolving. They have evolved too much. So whenever I reach a site which I want to photograph, first of all, I take my time to understand the surroundings around it and the relationship of people with that site, how that heritage site has evolved with time, with the people who are living around it. And light for me, sadly, is I never get time to focus, because when I am photographing architectural building, I have to just do it. If I reach at any time, I have to finish the work, because most of the heritage sites are private properties or houses of someone. So taking time for light and all that, I don't have that option in my case only. So I just try to capture the soul of that site in itself and how it has evolved with the. So that is what I do.
Raghu Saab, you used a word in one of your interviews, which was a very hard to translate word in English. You said divangi. Anyone in the audience willing to give me any translations for that? Wild passion? A bit of crazy, a bit of wild passion, a bit
Divinity.
divinity.
No, it's not wild. It requires total silence, meditative process. When you begin to receive signals from the nature. You see, this God has been installing an amazing computer in our heads. And this computer has unbelievable capacity to store all the ideas, sights, sounds, images, stories, and you keep storing them here. Now, this guy sitting here is full of so much you've gone through in life. Creativity is exactly opposite to this. Because as they say, you must have heard garbage in, garbage out. Good, interesting pictures in, good, similar kind of out. The only difference is that another guy sitting here, if he begins to receive the signals, only divinity can give you those signals and your heart can receive it. Your mind does not. Your mind is full of all that information.
It's amazing.
But this I have learned over the years. I can say it so simply now, but I have realized it much later. Because when I started taking pictures, just by the way, and first picture that I took, and the first film was processed, my brother, elder brother S. Paul, who's been a very good photographer, and he was great influence for all of us in India at that time. So he looked at the film and he says, Raghu, this is very good. I said, really? How do I know? Because I had no plans to become a photographer. So he said, this is very good. So I said, maybe, I had done engineering, which I didn't like, 10 to 5, and just started taking pictures by the way because my brother was a photographer. And when he said, that picture appeared in the Times newspaper, half page, with my name on it. So all his friends said, Raghu, big deal. I said, really, big deal? So you see, how did it matter to me? Because I had no plans to become a photographer. When everybody started talking about big deal, so I said, Bhai Sahab, give me a camera, I'll also click pictures. So I'll pick up a camera early morning, wander around, take pictures, come back, and I wanted to excel the one I had done earlier. It's not a joke. You can't excel the gifts that you receive. You receive the gifts in your intuitive and perceptive moments. That's where nature begins to play a part. You see, Ali Akbar Khan Sahab, our greatest sarojist, wo aate the stage pe, he'll put his head down and he'll start playing Des Malhar. और लगे हैं, बजा रहे हैं, बजाते 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 उन्होंने ऐसा सुर छू लिया है कि वो खुद आंखें खोल के खुद को देख रहे हैं कि मैंने क्या बजाया. कहते हैं अल्लाह ताला जब नहीं आएगा और वो नोट मुझे नहीं देगा, मैं कौन होता हूँ बजाने वाला. देखिए, ये जो दिक्कत ये है कि अच्छी तस्वीरें दुनिया भर में बन रही हैं. एवरीबडी इज गॉट अ सेल फोन. And when you keep clicking all the time, everybody is a photographer, so sometimes you get a good picture. But to receive those intuitive gifts, वो divinity है. आप उसको अल्लाह कहते हैं. मैं भी क्योंकि यहाँ पैदा हुआ था और यहीं का बच्चा था, मैं भी अल्लाह ही कहता हूँ. लेकिन back home they call it पिता परमेश्वर. वो परमेश्वर हो, वो गॉड हो या अल्लाह हो, हम जो मर्जी नाम दे लें, वो डिवाइन एनर्जी है. वो is available to all of us. And that aspect of creativity in writing, in photography, in painting, in music, कि जब तक उसने नहीं सुर बजाया, मैं कौन हूँ बजाने वाला. So for me the light doesn't matter, because the moment, the energy and the freshness of it must light up my spirit, and then I receive it. तो ये थोड़ा फर्क over the years it has happened to me.
So we see that, a lot of young people come up and ask me when they want to be a professional photographer, that, but I need this camera and I can't afford it. And you can see that even if you give the same camera, the same street scene to our four panelists here, it's not just that they will most probably take different angles, different viewpoints, different perspectives, but what's happening inside them and their connection, and that, as I said, that movement that makes you go into the viewfinder, and that split second where you press the button and have your shutter go is different. But one thing that our panelists have in common as photographers is that they are also magic artists, they're magicians. And the great magic trick of photography and the medium, we'll start with Raghu Riaz Sahab, one of his photos of the Taj Mahal.
मैं एक ज़रा थोड़ी सी बात बता दूं. लोग कहते हैं यार, how can that be? What did you do? I said, I took out my skull and put it there.
Well, that actually illustrates my point, which is that the photographic medium, whether in physical entity or now in digital on a screen, is a flat surface in a frame, right? So that's what you're putting life into. But what you give is the illusion of depth. So as you can see here, this is what we call the foreground. This river is in the middle ground, and the Taj Mahal is in the background. And with that, even in a flat surface, it gives you perspective and depth.
मैं थोड़ा सा बोल दूं इसके बारे में.
जी जी बिल्कुल.
क्योंकि जमुना, गंगा, ये सारी रिवर्स में जिनका कोई वली वारस नहीं होता, मर जाते हैं, तो उनकी बॉडीज़ वहीं उसी में दफना दी जाती हैं. तो कहीं कहीं ऐसी स्कल्स दिखाई देती हैं जब river recedes itself.
Hmm.
तो मैं जब सारे दिन की शूटिंग करके वापस लौट रहा था, एंड आई वॉज नॉट सेटिस्फाइड कि ये कोशिश की, वो कोशिश की, यहाँ से एंगल लिया, ताज का वहाँ से लिया. व्हेन द लाइट वॉज ऑलमोस्ट गॉन and I was carrying a tripod and I was returning, I saw this. So I put my camera on a tripod and I was about to click and suddenly I see, you can see a ghost standing on the right hand side. And I saw this guy, he came and stood there. So I said, go away. So as long as he was there, some impression is there. And then he went away. But my exposure was long. So this is where divinity helps you, because he thinks this child is waiting, he deserves. This is where the magic lies.
Absolutely. And as you can see, this is one of Ferranti's photos. And you have a figure foreground, you have the shadows, and then you get a sense of depth. So, Ferranti, what is your, because we already heard from Raghu Saab, his motivations between using foreground, middle ground, background to tell a story, to make something apparent rather than what is just to the naked eye. So talk us through this photograph.
So first I would like to tell that I'm really moved to be with Raghu Rai, because we just spoke about Satyajit Ray, and I was very lucky in '85 when I came to India the first time. It was for making my first portrait in my life, and it was Satyajit Ray. And at that moment, I was so young and I was so moved that even speaking to you now, you know, I'm totally, really moved by that. And when I spoke with Satyajit Ray, I saw his film, Charulata and Tapu and so many films before, and immediately he told me, you know, you have to discover the most important photographer we have, and it was Raghu Rai. So I discovered India with his eye, so I had to tell this because it's very important for me. So what second notion, I think what Raghu told about the deep is very important, but so many people think about only technique. When you do a photography, there is a very important notion, what I used to tell to my students, that a photography it's only with 2 dimensions. That means it's only height and weight, and large and because it's a screen, that means it's a paper normally. Now it's different because everybody uses computers. That means we can have the feeling of a 3rd dimension. But for me, the 3rd dimension is imagination. Means in imagination you have image, and that means this is the action to go inside. And from that moment, you go you go further. That means it's it's not only a question of technique. And what happened in that photo is always a gift. I have to tell you that he chose the photos. I didn't ask for this photo. He did the same for Omar, for all the photographers. He just showed me that you were perfect. So when I did the photo, it's, as you can see, it's a frame 6x6. It's a very exigent format. The size vary because 2x3 is totally different, and because you can use vertical or horizontal, but square, you have to be perfect on your mind. So I did a photo only because the light was absolutely perfect. It's on the Cistercian cloister in the south of France, and what happened exactly with your man, the shadow, the door was open, everything was ready, and the man came. I thought, oh, he was destroying my own composition. But what happened? This photo is very important for me. That all the lines are totally linked. If you see here, if you,
Sorry. Wait. I'm handling 2 things. These ones?
Here on the line, and mostly, you know, everything is done here. I could not control.
Yeah, dynamism of forms.
And that means sometimes you have to intuitive balance, harmony. It's not only divine harmony, but it's real harmony. It means it don't depend on you. So this photo I forgot all the other one. But I will show you another one you choose. It is linked to another subject. But everything exactly what we told before can happen. But you have to be ready for that. So this is the second notion of deep, means you have also to anticipate every movement of what can happen. But the frame is essential. Essential.
Here we have Tapu's photograph. This is a baptism in Karachi.
Yes, a baptism in Karachi.
And so this is a very interesting one because the action you kept in the foreground, and yet the emptiness, which kind of leads to a vanishing point, you kept in the middle ground and the background. So if someone was like, say, you had a young photographer and he was witnessing a baptism, so you would think that they would focus on the baptism being where the eye usually goes, which is in the middle ground. But you put it in the foreground and you put empty pews and then the church door in the background. Talk us through what was going through your mind when you composed this and how you use depth. And
It's quite simple. The people were the mass. So I wanted the mass in the foreground and then the depth in the background, so creating sort of a perspective of its own. This was I'm sure everyone out here, I don't know how people work, but I work project to project. So I give myself an assignment, say I'm following the Christian community or the Hindu community or whatever we call it, and I keep on going back and photographing them again and again and creating an archive, which is I guess, the purpose of my life, to archive this country. So my reference told me that they were going to have a baptism, and that's why I came there. It took me quite a bit of time to convince the people that I want to stand, because I'm standing in the area we're not allowed to enter, and I'm on a height. So for that very reason, I just wanted to compose a picture which had that very classic depth with the foreground and the background. It was just a simple photograph like that, but it wouldn't have been the one I chose to show. But thanks.
And here's Maria's. This is very interesting because we don't, no human figures are apparent, but non-human figures are apparent. And you have this boat and you have a certain flag, which Maria, would you like to explain what the flag means to people who don't know?
Whenever I'm traveling, I mostly do architectural heritage photography, like you all know. Okay. So I mostly do heritage photography, shared heritage of Indo-Pak. And I was in Gwadar, Balochistan. I was visiting that. And after I had done, I had finished my other works which I was there for. This was the last day. And whenever I am in any area, either it's in Pakistan or in other countries, I am very much interested in politics and religion of those regions also. So suddenly, this was I think the last shot I took on that day, and it was the last day. And on this boat, I saw the flag of People's Party, which is a very famous party in Sindh. And this is Balochistan actually. And there was another boat which had a flag of Nalain Sharif, which is an Islamic religious flag. So, and on the flag, there was a crow sitting. So for me, it was because in 2017, the kind of politics that was happening in Pakistan, how I felt, and this image is a very political kind of shot I took at that time.
Well, you also have these kind of semi-built, semi-developed
yes,
modern
the whole,
houses in the background,
yes.
which give, I think, the context that you were trying to talk about. The next magic trick of photography is time. So unlike films or what used to be called motion pictures, you get a sense of continual time passing, which is what we live in our everyday life. But photography can pause it. It's just about 1 millisecond, but you know, the difference between a good photographer and a great photographer is they can show you a pause in time, but at the same time give you a sense of time passing in a still frame. And this is Raghu Saab's photograph. And again, as we talked about, there's a vanishing point, there's a diagonal to give you perspective, and I think it's your shutter speed which gives this sense of movement and time passing, but you have these wonderful, interesting characters, and I just have a technical question, because if you're at that shutter speed, even if they moved a little bit, they would have blurred. How did they stay so still, or were they just reading?
When the divine begins to perform for you, you are part of it. देखिए, let me share something a little different than this. Then I'll give you the story. You see, in Zen Buddhism, they say being here and now. Now, this is a very old philosophy of simple life, being here and now. Here means this space, now is the time that we are talking to each other. Most of us, because of this computer here, which has so much stored here, we could be sitting here and thinking of something else and looking at picture also. So this game that we keep playing with ourselves, we are not here and now in a very precise manner. So when you become part of the whole, being here and now, the whole begins to perform for you because you merged with the whole. My energy, my emotions, everything is invested here. So then it begins to perform for you. And that's where the magic lies. I say everybody has some kind of music playing in them. We love music of some kind. And when you begin to shoot, and that inner music in you, and when you become the part of the whole, and that music and that rhythm in chaos, you see such poetry happening in chaotic, crowded situations. And that's where this is going beyond the idea of photography. That part is very essential. Coming back to this photograph, you know, when I went to this railway station in Bombay, it's a very famous railway station, and I saw a picture taken by Sebastian Salgado, my old dear friend. And it is such a beautiful picture, very simple. He has also captured the movement, but in a very different way. And I saw similar picture, another kind of picture of this Churchgate railway station by another Bombay photographer. So when I reached there, I said, my God, you know, these guys, they have already, you know, there they are. So I reached there at 8:30, and that's the time when these local trains come and go, come and go, come and go. And within few seconds, the people come down and they disappear like a human deluge. So I was mesmerized that such a human deluge that you can't stop it. And these guys reading the newspaper, they are sitting on a bench in the middle of it all. That's why they are sharp. So I said, you know, this human deluge needs slow shutter speed, but everything else is sharp. So I tried various shutter speeds, and this one worked very well. So you see, again, the point is that first you must receive, perceive, and understand what is the energy here. And the energy was human deluge. And you have to interpret it, photography, in photography.
This is Ferrante. Now I want you to, this actually combines two of your interesting paths through life. So you were an architect, and you see one figure, and this actually reminds me of a photo we're going to show of the Embassy of France told me it was Henri Cartier-Bresson. Any good? Okay, yes. Getting there? Because he was a master of localizing a figure in a space without actually showing you the figure and showing you more the form, and especially in movement. So can you talk about the idea of space and movement and time and what it means to you?
This photo is one of my best gifts in life because, as you told, I'm an architect. When I was 10 years old, I decided to be an archaeologist. Was fascinated by ancient Egypt, so I study also all the civilizations. And I did a photo. You didn't choose it, but it's a horse running in the destroyed city. And many years after, and I was frustrated. And I think it's a very, very important notion. First, just a parenthesis. We never have to forget that the photographer can't do nothing out of reality. This is very important, and because as you compare with writers, musicians, or sculptures. I mean, everyone has materials to use and transcend. But a photographer without reality can do nothing.
Very
Yes,
important.
it's so important. So when I did that photo, I was so many times in my life frustrated because sometimes we have yet the image in your mind, but the photo you will do will never be the same or that the photo you have. This is what I call a good photography. It means a good photography is a photography you finally you could do with exactly the balance between your divine vision and the body who did it. And a few words, when I was here, as you can see, exactly as Raghu in the station, in the railway station, is up. That means the photo you have to do it with the body, not only with the eyes or the mind. And when I arrived in that, it's Guatemala city, there's a totally empty church. And as you can see, I was alone. I did very bad things. I jumped in the altar for not having, because it's an analogic photo, and you can put out the lines. As you see, all my photos normally like Cartier-Bresson, who is the master of the European photographers. Everybody knows him, and he brought a fantastic instant decisive which changed our life as photographers. And so I was standing in the altar, and everything was ready. Light, stones, perfect. The lines that you can see are like that. And what happened? You will never believe me. So many people ask me, as I think we will see one of my favorite photos of you, but I will not tell this one because I think it's coming after, is the moment where everything was ready, but that girl came from, like in Signorelli frescoes in Italy, she came from the staircase. And I was totally surprised. She was like a ghost, in the growing up from the earth to the light. And what happened, please believe me, that girl felt my presence. So she was, and she stopped. Somebody is here. She would do that, and she saw a poor photographer totally concentrated on line and slide, and she said, "Oh, I will disturb him because he's doing a photo." So this is what it is: the relationship between the subject and the context. And she did incredible thing. She changed the way. She went on the right side. I will never forget. Even now, I can translate every movement. I didn't imagine what will happen. She went on the back, and I did a very special thing. I have the photo. I pressed the button just for liberator. It was totally instinctive. There was no, I decided. And she went, and I did the boot. And finally, what happened? She began to dance. So people told me, "So you asked her to do that?" No, I didn't, because she gave me the gift. And what happened? If you see the shadow, normally, yesterday we had wonderful workshop. Yeah. We had wonderful workshops with Maria. Maria, she's my guide since 3 days here and I'm so lucky, in Lahore for the first time. And we were expecting the moment where something happened. And all time we speak, wait the moment where the man is moving. We have to give movement, not bad position. And at that moment, it's an analogic photo, I did only one. She stand up in the 2 feet, like she has a shawl, and she was dancing. And for me, it's the moment where she will go up to the sky. She's leaving the earth, as you can see, for the movement like that. And it's one, if you find it in internet, means for me, it has very, very juice sense. Because she left. But I imagine, in conclusion, I think that perhaps she come every day to play in this abandoned church. I was here at that moment. But it's not for me, because why she was not visiting the place. It is his place, her place. It's not mine. But at that moment, as we can do all the time, something happened, as I told, and something happened with so strongly, so we are never the same after. Something is changed and fixed.
So, this is
the photo I would like to
so I found a bit of a similarity. This is Raghu Saab's photo. And as you can see, there is a kind of dance-like movement, a kind of ascension, as Raghu Sahib said, towards divinity. And here we have the South Asian equivalent, which is where you have this kind of, uh, encapsulating architecture, and you have the form. You can't see the face. Um, it's the form which is ascending. Um, and Tapu, this is one of yours. So movement, perspective, effort,
And a lot
yeah,
of and a bleach out background.
and a
About-
bleached out background. It's okay.
I have to say about the previous picture of Raghu Saab's, I collect a lot of art, and this is the one picture. I went to your exhibition in London, and I fell in love with this picture, and I told them I don't care what, I want to get it. So I own one of these. And the other one again is, if you go back to my one, yeah. Again, it's one of those. I don't know about. I'm classically trained in art, so for me, even though you have to first learn that before everything can become intrinsic to you, so that until you don't learn your camera, your art, your composition, nothing will happen on its own. I mean, I'm sorry, Raghu Sahab, agar divine. I haven't hit the divine yet, but inshallah I will.
You
but,
may not know it, but it keeps happening,
Indeed. So for me, it's usually when if I have something like this is happening and I have enough time, that ship is not going to move for a long time. So then I can compose myself, and this is one of those where I became a part of the community and photographed with them, and hence that's the picture.
So Mario, we've had, this is one of yours. And so this is a little more flat in terms of perspective, and the subjects are, seems to be in movement and one is in divine stasis. So in our other photographs, we discussed how many of our co-panelists waited and a subject appeared. But you have talked about a lot, and your work is also centered on being a woman photographer who has to travel outside of urban centers. And here your subjects are also two women. So could you tell us a little bit about, can women photographers who want to do the kind of work like you afford to just stand somewhere and let something happen? Or do you feel that, especially to the places that you travel, which are far away from urban centers, that you have to do it a bit differently?
First, should I tell about this photograph
Sure.
a little bit? I personally do not find beauty in perfection. I find beauty in imperfection. This is the shrine of Shah Rukh Alam in Multan, and it is a beautiful, perfect architectural structure. I have visited this site many times, and I have photographed it many times also. But the architecture in itself is so perfect that I never personally liked any of my photographs, because whoever ever has designed this this structure, it is completely perfect. So I don't think any photograph could do justice to it. This particular photograph, I was waiting for these women actually to move away, because I wanted to capture the wooden window and the details of it. But they were not moving, so I took the picture anyway. When I came home and I saw it, and I just fell in love with it. Like you say, something divine. That is the first time I ever felt, especially in the shrines of Multan, because they are in itself a marvel of architecture. Regarding women in Pakistan or women of subcontinent, there are many things I learned and faced during my time in photography. When we have to go for photography in Pakistan, especially to rural areas and places, uh, the people in those areas, they are very much fascinated that, oh, a woman is here, and mostly they try to gather around, or they try to but I mostly try not to focus on the negative things. I try to capture the positive things, because the good things that happen when I go for photography is that, because I photograph abandoned structures mostly, abandoned temples or abandoned gurdwaras, even mosques also, many havelis and all. Um, many families are living in those places. They are houses, residence places of families. And if a man is with me, they will not allow the man inside. But if I ask them respectfully, that they will say, okay, you're a woman, come inside. You can photograph it. And so that is a very benefit I see as a woman photographer. And there are many photographers, women photographers in Pakistan whom I know, who become scared of going to remote areas. Sometimes we plan that let's go to Chinnot and do photography, and let's go to, but at the main time they back out and they say, oh, maybe it's not safe or something will happen. But I have seen that people respect women more than men. I mean, if I take portraits, I take a lot of portraits also when I'm traveling. Men are very happy when a woman is taking a photograph. He will never say
We
no.
actually have a photo that she took in the
Yes.
close-up. I'm going to bring it up. Hold on. So this is women being happy with the men kind of idling in the background, as they
Yes.
tend to do, unfortunately. But you took two men. Actually, this is an interesting photo you took, Maria. I'm just going to this one.
This one. This was Shandur Polo Festival, which happens in Shandur, which is the highest polo ground for horse polo. And it's filled with local people from Chitral and Gilgit. And I was the only female photographer. I had no idea there wouldn't be any other female photographer. And I was wearing jeans, and everybody was in a shock that a lady is among us. And first time in my life, I actually got scared. But suddenly, everybody was so protective of me and so friendly. And when I was taking portraits, I mean, they were asking me, I am also sitting here, please take my portrait. And I am also. So that is a very, the benefits of a woman photographer are that neither women are shy of you if you take a photograph of them, and neither the man is shy of you if you take a photograph. So there are many benefits, and as I'm a mother, I have a child also. So sometimes when I have to go to a house for a photography, a pre-partition house where people are living, or a temple where people are living, and they are very scared that why is she coming, or why is somebody coming to photograph our house, and then they will share on social media, and then government will come in. So I take my child with me. And then I become like this, that I am a mother, look, I have come from so far, I have a child with me. And then they are so happy, you want tea, you want food, and then they allow me to do, like,
I mean,
I
when I
can
saw this, I
easily
thought that,
photograph.
it's so amazing that you inverted the cliche, because I thought this man was doing parda in front of you, you know?
No,
So,
no, there was too much dust in the air.
oh, okay.
So they had their, this one
Well, it is
removed
worth a
his,
thousand words and
he removed his
interpretations.
parda for me. So yes, this is,
All right, so we are a little short on time. Can I just ask the audience a question? Since we're having a good time, can you just give us 10 more minutes? Because I just want to talk about, we have some of the most gifted photographers in the subcontinent, portrait photographers in the subcontinent, and we've discussed spaces, architecture. So I just want to talk about portrait photography, and then I have prepared a secret personal question for all of you. It's the same question. And then we'll finish. Are you guys okay? Not too bored? Okay, all right. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. All right. So, Raghu Saab, Tapu, two sides of the border and icons. Um, I was researching this week, and Raghu Saab, I lost count of the amount of not just the icons that you have taken a portrait photograph of, but just how you brought something out in them that was different from how we associate or look up to them, whether it was your portraits of Indira Gandhi, whether it was your portrait of Arundhati Roy, whether it was your portrait of Satyajit Ray, surrounded by his, cohorts. So I've picked these two. This is your portrait of the Dalai Lama. And what I love about this is that you've used again, when we come back to foreground, background, and to tell a story. So usually, I'm sure all of you have gotten your formal portraits taken, where a photographer sets a background up, and it's just a blank surface, and then it's the face. But you actually did something very interesting with just the very regular setup of all portrait photography, which is that you included the story behind the background, literally the background, which is these two gentlemen here. And then you have this um, mysterious but also kind and enigmatic face.
Most compassionate man living today.
Hmm.
And he is loved and admired by the whole world, you know. One person. He's so amazing.
Would you say that maybe that is because you included these two figures looking at him in the background?
No, because actually I was doing a story for New York Times magazine on His Holiness. And you see, I have done many portraits of him in his house in Dharamshala, elsewhere, during Kal Chakra prayers and everywhere. And suddenly I had this idea that I should do a portrait different from whatever I have been doing about him. So I took a, maroon color, actually in black and white it becomes black. So, and His Holiness said, "Can you please do it in 10 minutes?" I said, "Your Holiness, it's a bit difficult, I'll try." So I got this, instead of putting this backdrop on proper legs and all that, so I asked these two guys to hold it.
Okay.
And when His Holiness came, and His Holiness is 100% there all the time, no matter who he is meeting. His divinity is magical. And he came and he stood like a child. But he's so much there. Look at him. And then those two guys at the back, one monk and the other guy is my driver. So I said, "Man, this is something new." You see, these are the hints that nature gives you. Come on, leave it, take it. Look at this. These whispers, the whispers when nature begins to whisper in a different language and visually different language, that's where magic lies. So I said, "This is it." So he says, "You've done it." I said, "Your Holiness, your blessings make me do things so fast." And I must say, I have got such a loving relationship with him. Every time I go there, he shakes his hand and he pulls me in. My head goes on his shoulder, his head comes on my shoulder, then he holds me. And the energy, the power I feel, I am like, like that. And now this has happened so many times, and me like a fool doing, I said, "What the hell?" So next time when this happened, I started giving kisses on his shoulder like I did it on your shoulder, Asmani. So I begin to plant kisses. My wife says, "How horrible. You are polluting his shoulder." But you see, you have to go out of yourself and allow all the energies to work for you. And whatever you'll do will be different and unique and not seen before. The unknown begins to appear. This aspect is important.
Two different sides of the border, two different personalities, two very different life paths. But I felt that Raghu Saab's portrait of Mother Teresa in prayer.
Very, very dark, you can't see.
You mean the exposure or the screen?
The face is very dark.
The face is dark. But I think what I liked was, what stood out to me was the architecture of the face that you captured. The lines, the wrinkles. Usually when we do portrait photography, we think that the personality is conveyed through the eyes. But here the eyes are closed and she's in an action, but it just seems that this face it gives you a sense of how long and arduous and perhaps challenging but also rewarding her journey was. And even though her eyes are open in this one, Madame Noorjahan's, Tapu, your portrait of Madame Noorjahan, at a time where she was, I think, at the end of her life, but she still had the trappings of an icon, the makeup, the
Of course,
eyeshadow,
of
the
course.
but it's in the eyes really, in this one, and also the architecture of the face, that I think that there's really a story being told there. And I just want to include you two, Ferrante. This is our last little analysis of pictures that we've collected, which is, oh, there we go. And here you can't see the eyes either, but there's a story being told. And I am assuming with the background that this is a spiritual moment for this man. Who wants to talk first, Tapu or Ferrante? Well, since for this one, Ferrante, why don't you start? And then we'll go.
Because the photo is here. Just very important notion, I think that everybody told that when you have in front of somebody, you have to expect to take with such respect the soul of the people. But everybody is not really able or in situation to give it to you. That means because we have all an intimate and very secret part of ourselves that you are afraid to give to somebody else. And mostly when you don't know the people, it's different with Raghu with yes, His Holiness and mostly with Mother Teresa. What happened in that photo is, I think, is a very symbolic position that we have two notions very to discuss on. First is the distance you keep and you have with the people you meet. That means you are close, means close physically or close by the relationship you have with the person. And the second one is as you have to fix in one fraction of second. We can't imagine all the photos you could do with the 2 months, because I know the situation. You know, a man can't keep the background so long. And that means you can ask them to spend 10 minutes with the arm like that. So that means you have to run on that position and fix exactly the feeling. I was in Ethiopia in a very sacred place. This is considered as the Mecca for the people who can't go to Mecca for the Muslim. What I love in that photo is the man came on my side. We were totally alone in the empty space. It was crowded everywhere. And I just ran to that second shrine, and he was running to me. But what is very important, the light was horrible. It was exactly the zenith, as you can see on the shadow of the eyes. But he was full of traces, the prince of the sacred. As you can see, he has many elements. He has 3 elements. First, he has the elements of the earth, means he took the dust. Second, he was on the shrine, he took with hands and face the walls, the shoe, I don't know exactly what, the white one. And third, he went inside. I used to be inside, so I understood what exactly he has on the skin. And the last one is take the, comment on dit des cendres déjà? The hashes, it take the hashes of the sanctuary. Means it's 3 times totally full of sacred prints. But when he came, I have no word to tell him. I have only my camera here on my, and I stopped. That man is incredible. We are alone. What I can do? And I did what I used to do now because of that photo, just to show it. That means just to take the time with him and make him understand that I would like to have his portrait. You know, there is no speak, there is nothing. And that man did, 1 second, I did 1 photo. But what happened, I saw it before, he has on the head what is on the back. Means he has the cupolas. So he's totally holy man. He did all the rituals, he has the energy of the rituals, but coming from that place, he took also on his, it's full balance, and it was also a gift, I think. This is very important.
Wonderful.
To speak about that.
Wonderful. So the spirituality here is conveyed with the eyes open, but Tapu, what What are her eyes conveying to you? What were they in that moment, at this
Um,
point in her life?
Well, I wanted to photograph Madame Nourang for ages, and she never gave me time. At one point, somewhere late in life, she said, "Okay, fine, aa jao." And when I first went to her, this is going to be a little comical, but anyway, I feel that when, as a photographer, you have, it's a privilege to photograph somebody, even if it's Madame Nourjan, even if it's somebody on the road, because you have to respect their privacy. And this is me disrespecting her privacy, because this is a picture she would never want me to show anywhere, because she was so much about her control and how pretty she looked and how nice, any age whatsoever. So when I showed her this photograph, she was very upset with me. She said, "Isko jalai do, behtar hai." Okay, but she said, "Agar tumhe acha lagta hai to laga do." Anyway, when I first met her, this is just an anecdote. When I first met her, she looked at me and she said, she looked as if she knew who I was, and she said, "Tum kaun ho?" So I said, "मैं हसन जवेरी का बेटा हूँ." तो she said, "हसन के बेटे हो? फ़ोन करो उनको immediately." फ़ोन कर then on the phone she said, "Hassan, मैं मर रही हूँ, मुझे diamond दिला दो." So the picture was actually being taken for that diamond ring, okay, which she had on. And it was just a magical moment to be with her, to photograph her, and actually I spent the entire day with her, so this is just one snippet of what happened. Um, I just, I mean, I just love this photograph. This for me is a moment, and it's a legend who I wanted to capture, and then I did.
The last secret question, but just I'd like to request the audience, our ushers and hall managers are all young school students, and they have been doing an incredible job signaling to me. I feel like we could talk for hours with all of you, but the last question. The journalist Said Naqvi asked Raghu Saab, I believe you were 5 decades into your career as a photographer.
And a half.
5 decades and a half. And he said, कि कहाँ तक पहुँचे? Where did you get to? And he said, and you said, I believe, कि जहाँ से शुरू हुआ था फिर वहाँ पहुँच गया. Which is that I started out, I just really want to make it up to the embassy of France today, so I'm translating for them. I was like, oh, the visa is hard to get. Anyway, sorry. Which meant that I have returned where I started off from. And so I will ask that question to all the panelists. What does that mean in terms of the photographs you take now in 2023, and circling back, as I promised, to this day and age where all of these people have cameras in their pockets? What would you say to them now that you have come, that you have arrived at this moment?
I'll say, don't take out your cell phones and take pictures. I'll do it for them.
Oh.
Mean fellow.
And make sure you get a print, because it would be a very good financial investment. Just kind of handling the business side for everyone here. Yes, Tapu.
I don't know. I don't know. Raghu Saab has gone full circle. I think I'm standing still.
You started when you were 9 years old. And now you're 18, or you look 18, and then surely something must have changed.
Well, technology has changed, and with technology, the ability to take more photographs has happened. I remember when we first started, we were, I think, 12 frames, and then we moved to 24, and then to 36. That the ability to take more pictures as sort of a detriment to how well you take the picture. That's what I feel. I don't know about other people. What's happened is, in my own head, I have to edit before I photograph, which is an annoyance, because as I'm photographing, I intrinsically want to take a picture, but then I edit myself all the time, this is where I found I am right now. And the wonderful thing is that cameras have become lighter, and technology has moved on to the ability where you can photograph anytime, anywhere, any place, and have no hindrance. So I find that I have gone moved or not moved, or still in the same place, but there's so much more to photograph, and that's why I'm here. I want to archive this city, archive this country, people in it, and every face for me is, I mean, it's a universe in itself. Because I find myself quintessentially a portrait photographer. So for me, even if I've done fashion, it's always been about the portrait. If you want to do fashion, just glamorize the portrait a lot more, but it's still intrinsically a portrait. And coming from a classical art background, I think photography for me is the ultimate amalgamation of, of science and art. And that's why I'm here still and photographing.
Ferrante.
Yes, I agree perfectly with that. Just in a few words, I think that if I have to give, I'm teaching. It's very important for me. Why? Because when I arrive in each course, and every student now, every year I have a student, because in Sciences Po in Paris, they have to work on to show to the other one engaged photographer. And they always ask me, what is an engaged photographer? This is to you to tell me. I don't have to tell you. There is so many engagements, so form of engagement. So every year I have somebody working on Raghu photography. I think the photo of the station is one of the most well-known photo and I brought all my students in the exhibition he had in Académie de France 3 years ago. It was amazing. So two things. If you feel as a photographer, you have to look all the photographers. Never be closed in your own world, because now we are all concentrated on. But sometimes it's because we are afraid of the world. The world is really making us afraid, because the world is really terrible. So sometimes it's not so easy. This is why the reporters are so important in the life, in our life, because they are bringing heights for great photography. So if you decide, if you feel that you can be a photographer, you have to be very exigent. It doesn't care the technique. That means you can use a smartphone, you can small cameras, huge camera, and the situation is always different. It is you. Your position can be really important. And the second one is just because we are son of analogic photos, and we have to change the technique. We have to use a new technique. That means it was a conversion. We had to think totally, as Tapu told, totally to think differently. And it was very special when we have no time to speak about that, but Raghu is a wonderful example to do black and white colors, and black and white and colors. Means it's totally different writing. So because we are son of analogic photos, we knew exactly what was 36 photos in one camera. That means the rhythm of photography was totally different. So each photo was important. You agree with me? We were totally involved to have one photo who can tell everything. And sometimes I saw with smartphones, people doing 5 photos, 6 photos, and they always tell, the good photo is between 2. Never forget that. And if you are just concentrating on one photo, you will be happy, because it's not a question of technique. It's a question of how you are exigent with your own vision of the world and what you would like to share, as you told so wonderful in that portrait. It's amazing, that portrait, because it's a link with somebody. The soul are speaking, are sharing together, and the technique is totally out of so I would like to always be exigent with you, because everything looks so easy now, looks so easy, but it's not easy at all. It's more difficult.
Maria, would you like to close out our session?
I believe that a photographer is an artist, and to be an artist, one has to be very emotional and has a very keen eye, any form of art. And yes, everybody has a camera now, and everybody takes photographs, but a photographer can take a good photograph from phone also. I have seen many people taking photographs, but they are not good. But only the photographer who is an artist in itself, they can take a good photograph. So there is nothing to be scared of the new technology, I believe, because world is evolving and it will keep on evolving. Something new will come, but those who can capture the soul, only those will keep on capturing the soul. I don't think everybody can do it.
And we'll end with Raghu Saab's words, is that if you want to capture the soul, wait for the divinity.
Yes.
Don't take 100 photographs.
एक छोटी सी स्टोरी सुन
बिल्कुल वक्त है
2 मिनट मैं ज़्यादा टाइम नहीं लेता आई एम वेरी प्रिसाइज एंड ब्रीफ जलंधर में हर वल्लभ म्यूज़िक फेस्टिवल होता था एवरी ईयर और म्यूजिशियंस पूरी पूरी रात बजाते और गाते थे तो एक बंदा जो कुछ करता नहीं था ज़िंदगी में द मैन हु डिडंट डू हैव एनी जॉब ही ऑल्सो वेंट and he saw Pandit Ravi Shankar playing sitar. So he's playing and everybody clapping and going, wow, wow. Everybody was mesmerized. So he went home. Next day he asked his wife that, give me some money, I want to buy a sitar. So the wife reluctantly gave him the money and he bought a sitar. And this guy will pick up his sitar every morning and go tung, 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 tung. The wife was getting bored with it, that what is this repetition? So the next Hari Vallabh came and she thought she'll also go and see what happens in Hari Vallabh. So she went and she saw Pandit Ravi Shankar, Ali Akbar Khan Sahab going up and down and people clapping. So she comes home and she says, what the hell you think you are doing? He says, what happened? He says, Pandit Ravi Shankar, Ali Akbar Khan Sahab, they go up and down and they play and people clap and you are stuck there. He says, you don't understand. They are still searching, going up and down. I have found it. So it's a matter of finding.
Mr. Raghu Rai.
I am the wickedest guy. You haven't seen my worst side, you know.
You have another session, so we can still explore it. Mr. Tapu Javeri. Mr. Ferrante.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Maria Waseem.
Umer Faiz.
And Umer Riaz,
Thank you, Omar.
who is an amazing director. You have to see his work. MashaAllah.
Fantastic.
I'm glad I tanned a bit in the February sun because I'm blushing very hard right now. So thank you so much. Thank you for being so patient.
Hafiz.
A wonderful audience. Thank you.